talking about classes, and I started talking about Keystone, what the Keystone thing is for good retention and building a strong school. And the Keystone is the last stone that goes into building an arch. All these blocks are put in, and then when this Keystone gets in there, that's the final stone of keeping everything strong. And the whole idea with the meeting yesterday is just talking about different systems we do in our school and what would be the master system on the teaching side. So this isn't really business systems. Of course, keeping your students is the business. But I just started talking about different things that we do in classes. And I just didn't want to mention them, but I want to talk a few minutes on each one. Just to maybe give you some ideas. If you already know that, class presentation, yeah, I know my guys had to give a good class presentation, but I just went onto some key steps. And yesterday we talked about making sure you have good protocol. Protocol is one thing that differentiates martial arts from anything else. People don't go into soccer, they don't go into baseball classes with bowing into the door, saying, hello, ma'am, hello, sir. They're not judged on their behavior. Of course, in other sports, they want the kids to be good sports, but they really don't go into all the protocol, the bowing, the sitting by the mat, waiting to get called onto the mat, things like that. That's unique to martial arts. So that is definitely a strong building block, and it could be what keeps everything together. We talked about class plans. I talked a little bit about the difference between writing a class plan for that day and having class plans that are actually a recipe to get someone from white belt to black belt. This is probably the only way you can duplicate yourself. So if you want your instructors to teach exactly like you do, you've got to give them your class plan. They have to be able to explain the techniques in your way. They have to be able to time it out. So if Jerry Prince and I were going to do the same class, we both had a class plan that says do this for 3 minutes and do this for 30 seconds. Long as we could read the class plan and know what the drill was and conduct that drill for that time limit, our classes should start on time, end at time, and everyone has the exact same class. So having that type of preparation is part of the building blocks. It could be the Keystone. We talked about presentations. We talked about the instructors being motivated, their presentation skills, understanding that children learn in different ways. Most kids are visual learners, but we do have kids that are auditorial, that they can see it, but unless you explain it verbally, they don't get it. Some kids you actually have to move through, and you've probably seen these kids reverse punches. They're having a tough time. You go over there and move their hands for them. I got it. So you got to make sure that not only am I a motivated presenter, I'm inspiring my students, but at the same time, I know their learning strategies and I'm able to do that. We talked about the difference between relationships and building rapport. Building rapport is knowing everyone's name. Everyone kind of smiles at you. They know you. They like you. You've got some type of bridging. Having a relationship is knowing more in depth about the student. And we talked about the importance of having this relationship, because if you have a real strong relationship with your students, and your students have real strong relationships with each other, it's hard for them to quit martial arts. It's easy to quit martial arts if you're just learning punching, blocking, kicking, but if there's relationships involved, it's hard to leave a relationship. We talked about the block where difference between wants and needs. Everyone come in and they're always wanting something. I want some self-defense. I want to lose some weight. But we know to keep your student, you have to be aware of their needs. People need to feel good about themselves. They need to show that they're making progress. They need to see that they're making progress by changing belts or gaining stripes. So we know what they want. We also know what they need. It's got to be a combination of the two for the class experience. We talked about the importance of goal setting, not only long-term goal setting for black belt, but the importance of short-term setting for belts, even for stripes. We talked about the skills of the instructor, how sometimes we get instructors on the floor, they're busy teaching, they're no longer training. It's really important that we keep our instructors really, really sharp so they're always ahead of the students in performance and they're always sharpening their skills. We talked about the mini system called Pace and Peak. This is the time in your class. So when you start pacing the students, They're doing a little warm up. It's getting a little bit stronger. We're working on a little more intensity. They're breathing hard. And then all of a sudden we end the class with a high energy finish. And at that time, they're peaked. And they're ready to cool down, bow out. And they should be thinking to themselves, I can't believe class is done already. Too often students are saying, I can't wait till class is done. We want them to say, I can't believe it's done already. We talked about stripe testing, the importance of stripe testing, how it's tied into attendance, how it's tied into instructor responsibilities, the instructors making sure that everyone's progressing, everyone's going to be passing their test. I'm not saying that the instructors give away the stripes, but the instructors are watching each student throughout the month. If they see a student falling behind, they're going to do what it takes, extra help, offer private classes, whatever it's going to take to make sure everyone's on progress. If everyone's seeing progress, they're going to get their stripe, they're going to feel good about themselves, and they're going to want to have more classes. So we ended up there last week or yesterday. Today I'm going to start with life skills. Life skills is what most people in the industry believe that martial arts is now all about. If you're looking on Facebook and things like that, people are talking about, hey, it's no longer the punching, blocking, and kicking. It's really about the change we make in kids' lives, giving them the confidence and self-esteem. And I totally agree to that. It used to be that they would say martial arts develops these things, and they say, a kid going from white belt to black belt, by the time he gets black belt, he has a lot of self-confidence. I always thought that was wrong, and I mentioned that in my book. I think that way back in the day, people with self-confidence, high self-esteem, they could put up with all the negative things in martial arts, and they would have the perseverance. You couldn't make those guys quit. They're going to stick with it. So all of a sudden you got a black belt. This black belt has, is high intensity. He doesn't give up. He's got all this confidence. Well, he probably had those life skills before he started martial arts. So what we really want to do is when we get a student who doesn't have those skills, who doesn't have the confidence, we want to build that confidence first. If we build the confidence first, they're going to make it through all the stumbling blocks and all the tests and finally get their black belt. So building life skills is part of our program. It's not just the same thing, punching, blocking, kicking, and they get the life skills, but it's part of our class that are dedicated to that. So you should be doing some type of life skills program. At the same time, you should have some type of award-based system. You should consider the life skill equally to the physical skill. So if you're going to do someone and they're going to get their yellow belt, well, they should have certain knowledge of life skills, certain knowledge of physical skills. That's what makes them a yellow belt, and parents have to see that. The reason I say have some type of program, not everyone who became a martial artist went to any type of school for psychology and teaching children. So if you haven't done that, and you may consider yourself a professional in martial arts, but not in professional life skills, follow one of the programs out there. I'm just partial to Black Belt Excellence because I actually do the mat chats and things for Black Belt Excellence. But again, have something that's going to supplement your martial arts teaching, so some type of program that goes along with that. Another block I think is really important is just attendance follow-up, making sure we're keeping attendance. I remember a long time ago going to Paul Garcia's school, and he had his attendance roster on the wall, and kids would put a check mark by their name every time they came to class. So I'm looking at his roster, and I see a lot of people with 3 checks, some people with 2 checks, some people with 1, some people with none. I go, Paul, when I'm looking at this, all these kids that have been coming twice a week, they're solid. Those are A students. They're there all the time. In fact, I bet these kids with 2 checks and 3 checks even come to your events. Now, these people have 1 check. They probably had 2 checks a while back, and now all of a sudden they're skipping a class. If they start skipping class, pretty soon they're going to have no classes, and they're going to be out the door. Those are like B students. The people who didn't show up last week, they're your C students. When I say C, they're going, see ya. They're already out the door. So it's really important that not only we keep attendance, we have attendance follow-up. So if that's using Rainmaker to do attendance texts, attendance emails, attendance postcards, that'd be great. If it's you picking up the phone saying, hey, man, we really missed you. If it's you getting your cell phone and standing up in front of the whole class and everyone yells, Dave, come back to class. You take that short video and send it out to Dave. I mean, those are all great attendance follow-ups. Next thing is motivation and inspiration. Scott Axman has a really good scale for instructors to evaluate how their class was from -3 to +3. 0 is compliance. So we're talking about motivation and inspiration. Kid comes to class, he's at the compliance level. What is that? That's like the instructor says run and you run. You're not motivating yourself. Your instructor gives you a command. You comply to the instructor's command, and that's where you are. Then there's instructors because they're excited, they're motivated, they're inspiring you to be better. Not only are you complying with the instructor, you're going above and beyond on your own. So he's saying punch, and you're punching faster and stronger because you're inspired to do so. Maybe you've got the black belt attitude, and all of a sudden, I mean, your goal is really to get to black belt. Well, now that student is at a level 3. So, you know, he's past compliance. He's past just showing a little more motivation, but he's out there. He's sweating. He's like your A student. That would be a +3. A -3 would be a kid that just doesn't want to do it, and he doesn't mind telling you, no, I don't want to do those push-ups. I'm just not going to do them. Well, why does someone get there? Maybe the instructor was negative. Well, maybe the instructor went up and said, hey, I know your push-ups are really, really lousy. I expect you to try really hard today. And all of a sudden the kid goes, heck with that. I'm not even going to do it. So he becomes, you know, just he's way below compliant. He's actually just going against the instructor. So when you kind of look at your classes and you talk to instructors, you say on a scale of -3 and +3, where were you on motivation and inspiration? Now, when I say where were you, where's the class? Is the class just going through the motion? Well, your class today was a 0. If I was to say, hey, my students were not only inspired, I mean, they were keen, they were trying, they didn't even want to end up the drills. I mean, they're just crazy, crazy motivated. Okay, you are at a level 3 today. So when you're looking at your instructors, they fall in somewhere in that area. Again, 0, they come in, they comply, but they're not really striving to be their very, very best. Another block that could be your keystone is your culture and your personality. I look at Tom Baker's school, and he's just got a culture of a family school. One way to judge this, he charges a lot for testing. He charges $45 for belt testing. I used to live near his school in Arizona. I've been there. I don't hear parents complaining about testing fees. He does above and beyond. Being a kid's school, during graduation, he'll have a bounce house outside. He's got a barbecue grill. He's got one of the dads out there making hot dogs and hamburgers for the kids and the families after testing. He's got someone out there selling T-shirts. He's got moms bringing in food. They have a whole potluck center where they can get salads and things like that. Moms make desserts. So they're more than happy to pay the $45, and they're willing to bring food in after that. That's what I call a family culture. They look forward to doing that. When I check out Craig Haley's school down here in Florida, he's got a really culture for fitness. And he does some crazy things. He has a Friday afternoon happy hour. So happy hour is 5 o'clock. Usually people from work are going to the bar or something. That's their happy hour. His happy hour is everyone's bringing their gear on, and they spar at 5 o'clock to 6:30. Now what they do after that, maybe it's another happy hour. But he's got people that are fitness-oriented, and they go, hey, I want to be around other people that are crazy fitness-oriented, and they do that. Then his next class is, I think, 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. That's his early risers fight class. So people come at 7 in the morning. He's got a jiu-jitsu class. He's got a martial arts class, and they're back to sparring. It's a young crowd. He's got a lot of adults in his school, very fitness-oriented. That's the culture he's built. That's why people stay in his school. So I think that could be definitely one of the keystones. Last thing is curriculum. Curriculum, a lot of times, is a deal breaker for some school owners. Some people have a curriculum that is so tough and so detailed, it weeds out all the students that can't memorize all that material. Maybe they don't have time to memorize that material. They don't have the flexibility and skill level to do all the required high kicks and everything. So the curriculum actually weeds out some of your students. I always get a kick when I talk to some guys that say, hey, I've got a lot of curriculum. And I tell you, the brown belts I have, they do it really, really good. And another thing, all my brown belts are like A and B students. I mean, they've really got to learn how to focus being smart through martial arts. I think it's the other way around. I think he had a group of regular kids in his school and a group of really smart kids. Those really smart kids could memorize the curriculum. The other people just weeded out. So he's got smart brown belts, but there were also smart white belts. It's not really that the martial arts made the kids smart. They were smart to start with, and they were able to handle all the curriculum, but he weeded out a whole bunch of the students. So having a real strong curriculum is really, really important. So let's go back to kind of the thought of the day. All of these are all the blocks, and we're just trying to talk about what we think is the most important block. And we talked about class plans, presentation, building relationships and rapport, wants and needs, goal setting, skill of instructors, pace and peak, life skills, stripe testing, graduations, attendance follow-up, motivate, inspiration, culture and personality, and curriculum. So what's the answer, guys? Jason, what do you think is the keystone?
I've got to go with I think the life skills.
Okay, that holds everything together. Cool.
Yeah.
I know you're a big fan of Black Belt Excellence, and you have all your students hand out the sheet, you do the sheets, get the rewards.
Absolutely, it's the one thing that we as martial arts school owners or martial arts or instructors do that they can't really find anywhere else. You know, that they can go do activities and they can go play sports and they can go do fitness type stuff, but to have a way to balance that out with life skills that not only just doing life skills, but just as you had said before, sir, is that we tie it into the mental and physical attributes both. And I think that's what sets us out apart.
Excellent. Anyone have another idea?
I think it's that, and on top of that would be the culture that we as business owners set. People will fit into the vision of your culture, and who sets that? The leader. And so if you think life skills is under that culture, then that's what it's kind of like the umbrella policy that covers everything. I think it's the leader of the organization that sets that culture, and that rises and falls with the leader's culture, which encompasses the life skills.
It's kind of a neat perspective, because when I talked yesterday, I used Sal as an example of Keystone is the last stone that they do building a building. The first stone that they build for building is a cornerstone. So if, like, when they do the pyramids, they have a cornerstone. From that first stone is the vision of the foundation, where all the other stones are going to be set. And I mentioned that in Sal's case, his cornerstone is life skills. When he talks about in his book, he talks about all the qualities of a leadership. So if I had to say the culture of Sal's school would be leadership, it revolves around that. So he's saying his keystone and his cornerstone are in alignment with each other. Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
It had to be the life skills. So many other sports, I mean, they're out there to learn the sport. You go to baseball, you don't learn life skills because you're trying to get to a tournament or you're trying to get to a game. And that's what MMA has turned into now. It's turned into a sport, and it's no longer a martial arts. So we are specifically the only group I see trying to instill these life skills into an activity, an athletic activity.
I'm just going to give my opinion. I think it's strike testing. The reason I felt it was strike testing encompasses everything. Number one, the student has to have attendance. People with good attendance see progress. People who have progress feel good about themselves. Those people who feel good about themselves want even more of it, so they have better attendance. And then they see more progress. I think that really spirals up. So I think that's one important thing about stripe testing. I think the next thing important about stripe testing is we should have the balance. In other words, I have to have my activity sheets done for my life skills. I have to be showing life skills. At the same time, I have to have improvement in physical skills. And I'm not going to get a stripe if I don't do that. And what I said before that I believe is it's up to every instructor to make sure their students pass stripe testing. And I used to tell this to my guys. My guys, and when I say my guys, my instructors in Florida, they were hardcore. And Roger Kral, he's now a very successful MMA coach. And I go, Roger, all your guys have to pass stripe testing. He goes, I can't guarantee that. I go, well, yeah, you can, because you've got 20 students on the floor that you're watching per class. And if one or two kids aren't doing well, they're not going to pass stripe testing. What are you going to do about that? Can you assign them leadership? So everyone knew that the physical part of stripe testing was important. One thing about stripe tests, again, is attendance. They have to be there twice a week. Each time they get a stripe, it's like giving a pat on the back. Pat on the back. So, again, they feel good about themselves. Well, I can see how different things like salsas be because the different importance on the instructor. I think they're all really important. I know we didn't go into a ton of detail on all these things, but I think they're all important. What do you think, Dave? Because I'm interested to hear from Dave because Dave's had some questions. I'm going to unmute you, Dave.
Okay.
Here you go.
I'm just kind of wrestling with what I think is right for me and what's right for the kids. So after listening to the other guys here, I'd have to say, it most definitely should be life skills. And but then what you just said, tie it in with stripe testing. So I'm being influenced here. I'm just trying to. I never really asked myself this question that good for. So I'm thinking about what should be the keystone here. But I'm sure it's going to be life skills and with the I personally like the protocol. I'd like to see better protocol in my classes. I'm always that better. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's for me or the students,
I know we've only been working together for a short period of time. Just from some of the frustrations I hear from you about making sure that you have a rotating curriculum, make sure that the kids have good skills. I think there's a little wrestling with you with the curriculum. I know I had to wrestle with the curriculum for a while. My students couldn't get the curriculum in 3 months. So it was either up to me saying, okay, I'm just going to push them all until they can get their curriculum. If they quit, they quit. Or I can adjust the curriculum and figure, okay, these kids may take a little bit longer. So maybe I can spread it out to 4 months, or I can get rid of a little curriculum on the first belt. But this is a real strong curriculum. All right, guys, any other comments? Nothing?
Awesome.
This is all, this is your livelihood. Okay, but I think the big thing is we don't know which one may be the corner or the keystone, but I think we would agree that they're all important. If you leave out one, that's like a major part of your recipe. If all of a sudden, you don't have class plans, but you're a good presenter, which is going to take you pretty good. I've had people come into my school that do seminars and they really kick it. They've got a class plan and they probably only have one. They do the same seminar every place they go, and they probably can build a pretty good school out of that. But they probably could never get to a point where they could leave their school at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and let other people run it, because people don't have their personalities and they don't have a plan to follow. So, I mean, class plans alone is, if you're missing that, you're going to just grow so long, and then all of a sudden you're going to be worse 80 years old and still teaching classes and still writing out your own class plans. So, and that could be said for all these things. I saw a post by Greg Horton. He goes, the future martial arts instructors are now training in your classes. I thought that was pretty good, because if you start thinking what martial arts can be like 10 years from now, those are the 14-year-old kids and 13-year-old kids that are training in your class. They're going to be the future instructors. So if we're going to really make our industry better, if everyone's just concentrating on developing better leaders and leaders earlier, I think we can have a huge difference. It's all that, the rising tide raises all ships. If we all did a good job in developing our team, our students, our staff, just imagine how good martial arts could be in the future. So no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah. That's right.
All right, everyone. Have a good day. I will be on with William tomorrow. He always comes up with his own subject when we hit record. So, but he always has good stuff to say. Thank you. Have a great one.
You too. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.